Good evening, greetings and love. I'm Marcia with Gnoshery Libertas, and you are joining us for Sanctuary episode 55 on February 13th, 2023. And every Monday night, we gather together online here, those of you who are part of the Gnoshery Libertas group, and we kind of connect our hearts and we connect our greater selves, if you want to call it that, to create an alchemical space which not only inspires and uplifts us, but allows us to actually receive guidance from what I call spirit, Holy Spirit, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call the nameless part of Source God, which not only moves through us and which we can tune into, but which also gives us this wider, deeper, and more expanded perspective of life so that we can start coming at life from a very responsive and beautiful and joyful and peaceful place rather than a wounded or triggered or feeling like we're threatened or going to be harmed all the time, a more reactive place. And so we gather each week to hear what Spirit's light transmission is or what the theme of the energies are for the week, as well as to receive some of the supporting energies which help us navigate what is not only happening on the spiritual and soulful realms, but what's happening in our practical, physical daily life, and how can we arrive to the moment, show up to it, so that we are actually meeting this energy and staying what Spirit calls above the weave, actually allowing the miracle of life to move through us rather than feeling like we are bogged down by it. And so the light transmission for tonight is called Through the Fog. And Mother Nature was kind enough this week to give me a lot of photos that went with the theme. So before I get into the supporting energies for the evening, if you would ever like to join us as a live guest for Sanctuary, or simply to just receive the replay in your email and have access to our other live events, this also gives you access to our private Signal and Telegram groups, as well as the one-to-one discounts on private readings and mentorship. So you can go to either one of our membership platforms on patreon.com/Gnoshery Libertas, buymeacoffee.com/Gnoshery Cafe, or if you want to directly schedule a one-to-one private reading or mentorship, you can go to etsy.com/shop/Gnoshery Libertas, or simply email me at gmail.com. Now that I have that all out of the way, I'm going to connect once again into Spirit and bring through the light transmission of Through the Fog. Within this light transmission of Through the Fog, some of the supporting energies that we are going to be speaking to tonight are that of change and fortune, and particularly energies that surround the archetype or the essence of the Fool. And Spirit has always trained me as there's two types of Fool. There's the lowercase Fool, who tends to kind of get ourselves into trouble because we are missing the cues, the signs, and the symbols in the weave. And then there's the greater Fool, the Fool that actually is able to be present to all of life and therefore able to receive everything that life with a capital L has to offer. This allows us to live in the moment and to experience these new beginnings and new projects that Spirit has been speaking to on the last few calls. As well, Spirit is highlighting once again this resurfacing of feelings and emotions. And this could be related to our past or future. And we will talk about that a little bit later in the reading. And finally, that we're encouraged to trust and to thrive during this time of unknown through this fog, because ultimately it is returning us to the energy of the beloved. And we will speak to that as well as we go through the reading. So the very first energies to come through here around this frequency of through the fog, how are we seeing through the fog at this time during this uncharted territory when we have no idea where we're going? And Spirit said this is a time of change, shift, new beginnings, the start of a new life, and that phase of initial potential, or what we might call creative chaos. So it doesn't always feel pleasant to the personality self, the linear self that is going through it on the physical material realm, but we can know that it's actually new beginnings happening from a more soulful place, which is ultimately bringing us greater freedom through what Spirit calls destined or fated events, and leading us to be more in tune with our life mission, which is often much different than what we might think on a personality or ego level that our purpose might be. And through this fog, we're going to be experiencing the power of opposites, as well as flexible interchange and a mutual enrichment through diversity. The lyrics, it's not clear what will happen next, but it's a change for the better. And so Spirit says we could experience a change of work professionally. We could have the energy of feeling like we are starting from scratch or having to reinvent ourselves again, or from Spirit's perspective, getting to reinvent ourselves again. This is an honor and a privilege. We're also going to experience sincere proximity to new soul group members and new hobbies, activities, and passions, which actually light us up from within, as well as Spirit says, new and interesting meetings are taking place. We are restructuring our lives, and this could be from the ground up, but it's leading to a increased sense of true stabilization, new growth after a successful merger, and Spirit says ultimately revitalizing relationships, happy development of relationships, karmic connections, finding the right partner or partnerships, fateful meetings, stable unions, and even flirtation is in the air for this coming consumeristic holiday of Valentine's Day. So we are encouraged to be aware of the vital rhythms of growth and destruction that are at play right now, and to know that we have the ability right now to understand patterns of behavior when we are interacting with people. So we might start to see things from a more soulful perspective, from a different lens than when we are actually interacting just from our linear personality self. This is the understanding and acceptance of the forces that go beyond the ego and linear personality. So Spirit says an awareness of the infinite abundance of opportunities that are available in every moment, and as well a lot of inspired ideas. Now, what is the shadow of this energy? Well, it's poor handling or mismanagement of money. It can be depression, and specifically around financial issues or a loss of money or a scarcity consciousness, as well as health problems related to financial status. Or sometimes what the way Spirit describes it is if we go through a financial loss, sometimes that reverberates back into our health as a health problem. The energies at foot here are also recklessness or folly. So there's that energy of the fool with the lowercase f, careless mistakes, or an attempt to try on another person's pattern. So once again, not being authentic to who we really are, which leads to chaos or this inability to manage ourselves. Spirit said it can also lead to drug or alcohol dependence, and it's the energies of immaturity, laziness, irresponsibility, and stagnation, even fatalism and despair. So this feeling of, not being able to climb out of this hole. And as well, Spirit pointed to deceptive success. So, this is success which comes from the false light and is ultimately not going to stand its ground when we are faced with a true soulful creation. And so, once again, Spirit speaks here to health issues that come out of nowhere. So, what are the lessons within these frequencies? Well, the first, Spirit says, is for us to learn how to move without fear and how to maintain our inner harmony and balance no matter what is happening in the external world around us. Of course, much easier said than done when you are the human living the experience. And yet we're encouraged to focus on the things in life that we truly and really value. And often we don't even really honor those things until we have either lost them or had an experience of loss or grief in some way. This is an experience of calm clarity if we are choosing to tune into this harmony and balance within. And we're also being given an opportunity to review our outlook on life, to change any habits that are not supporting our greater good. And we're encouraged, don't start too many things at once right now. Just keep it simple and stay focused and disciplined. And to know that anything we start, we are encouraged to complete. Before I move into the next supporting energy, I'd like to open the floor for comment, perspective, or anything you'd like to share. The next supporting energy that Spirit offered to help us move through the fog is we're very much encouraged to live in the moment, to not dwell on the past and what cannot be changed, which includes worrying or obsessing about our future. And we're once again like we were last week, encouraged to become childlike again and to live fully in the present moment. And most of us were conditioned and programmed to not even know what that feels like. So we may have to pray and ask for guidance to say, show me how to kind of move out of this distracted monkey mind. Show me how to carve the space that I need to learn to live fully in this present moment, unrestricted, unedited, uncentered, very much centered, but uncensored. So living fully in the present moment unedited, although I think some of us, like myself, might need an editor at this point in time. But we're encouraged to do something spontaneous or out of character. And this has been coming up in a lot of personal readings as well, that we're really encouraged to be silly, to be spontaneous, to really be in the fun and the joy of the moment, and to really expect not a lot, Spirit says, out of situations or other people right now, because people are not necessarily in situations, are not bringing a lot to the table in a way where we will have our expectations met. So instead, encourage stop, smell the roses, literally and metaphorically. So really taking time to enjoy through our physical senses what the earth has to offer, be that music or food or relationship or the flowers, just taking the time to sit and watch people walking by, to live in the moment of today, what today has to bring, and specifically to enjoy what we are doing. Once again, we're encouraged to ask for spiritual assistance from the divine realms and know that they are here to assist us move effortlessly through this time. As well, this is a moment to learn to be still and to be adaptable and flexible and to go with the flow. If we're feeling tired, exhausted, disheartened, or disillusioned, Spirit says you need rest. Do nothing and nurture yourself. Re energize for tomorrow. So often we have kind of taken on the world around us. We've layered ourselves in these energies that we are not even aware of. And we start to feel drained and tired and disheartened and kind of, like Spirit said, disillusioned with all things. And so when that happens, just rest, take a time out and use that space to do nothing and to nurture ourselves. In fact, Spirit says doing nothing right now is doing everything. And we're also encouraged to do anything that we need to cheer ourselves up, to tune into what makes us light up in joy. It could be as simple as watching a video that makes us laugh or makes us cry. Spirit says follow that emotion. And the lyrics here were, it will all make sense in the end. Before I move on to the next supporting energy, I will open up the floor. Spirit highlights again this week new beginnings, exciting changes, and Spirit says challenges. But these are exciting challenges, ones that by utilizing our strength, our willpower, our determination, and focus, we will find huge potential, Spirit says, to reign triumphant in so many different areas of our lives. However, this sword can be double edged. It can cut through all the barriers which are holding us back if it is done constructively and with precision. However, it has another side to the blade. If we're rash or if we begin to use this in destructive ways, it will be harmful to ourselves and all of those around us. So once again, this pausing, this moving into a receptive place and tuning into the moment before we are responding to triggering situations. In fact, that would become a reaction. So once again, we're encouraged to step into response, and we do that by pausing and tuning into the moment. What is the holy moment asking us to say? What is it asking us to do? Are we meant to react? Are we meant to take a step back? The only way we will know is if we tune in. And we're also encouraged to vanquish negative thoughts from our mind. Now, of course, that's easier said than done. But when we remember that these are just the vibrations of collective and societal programming, we no longer have to personalize them and own them. And this is indeed the strengthening of our mental powers and our abilities to ward off these lower vibrations of collective and societal programming. So we're using clarity with control in order to initiate new ways of thinking on this planet. And we are slicing through illusions and getting to the heart of the matter. So all of this is coming within the frequency of new beginnings. And it's coming with this sword of truth that it's going to help us utilize our strength, our willpower, and determination and focus. Huge potential right now. But we also have to remember that this sword can be double-edged. And so while it's cutting through all barriers that are holding us back, if we are not using it with responsibility and accountability and integrity, it can also harm us in a destructive way. So we are being encouraged to be mindful of that. Before moving into the next section, I will open up the floor. During this light transmission of Through the Fog, once again, Spirit highlights this resurfacing of feelings and emotions, particularly past feelings and emotions, and wanting us to know that past, present, and future are revealing themselves as one. And this is a deeply personal interior experience that happens between our soul and God. And so it's not really something that can be explained. It can only be known. But we are encouraged to know that we are connected to all of ourselves through time and space in this interior soul realm, including past and future versions of ourselves in this current timeline. To remember that our life is an evolving story, and where we are now is the direct result of where we have been. We may find past feelings and emotions are resurfacing from deep within us, and we may even find ourselves on an emotional roller coaster. And Spirit said this might even last a few days, but to not fight it, to know that this is an important part of our integration process, that nothing is wrong. In fact, Spirit says everything is just right. Trust in divine perfection, which cannot mess up or interfere. And Spirit says, no matter how hard we try. So we can believe we've messed up. We can believe we've interfered. We can believe we've, foobarred the whole thing. Spirit says, no, trust in divine perfection. It overrides everything. And that we are remembering and honoring our past, regardless of whether we perceive some parts to be good or bad, because in some way, every experience that we have had has helped to expand and shape our understanding and appreciation, not only of ourselves and others, but all of life. And this does not encourage Spirit says this obsessive preoccupation on the past or future. This is not what Spirit is speaking to, because this only serves to rob us of the present moment. So we are once again encouraged to be childlike, to live in the present and to stay in the present. And when we are in the present, embrace those feelings and emotions as they arise. So we're not going fishing for this. It's simply that in the present, when they arise, we are not fighting them, because this too, Spirit says, is an act of total presence. So we're maintaining harmony and balance no matter what is happening in the external, and we're focusing on the things in life we really value, that calm clarity, reviewing our outlook on life and changing the habits that are not supporting our greater good. So once again, this resurfacing of feelings and emotions, to not fight what is happening, but to simply trust that this is a divine process. And while uncomfortable, is leading us to those new beginnings, that fresh start that is serving the soul that Spirit is speaking to. And Spirit says here, bless your past, express gratitude for all the experiences that you've had, and know that life is forever unfolding exactly as it should. And the last lyric here was, all I need is 1 year of your life. And it was Spirit saying, if you can commit to co-creating with Spirit for 1 year, everything shifts, everything changes. And to the human, at first it can feel like so many things are falling away or dissolving that we want to cling to, but in reality, love only takes from us, wisdom only takes from us that which is actually destroying us or harming us at some level. And so when we commit to love, when we commit to this spirit with a capital S, and our inner soul, our interior realm, our true connection with our creator, all we can go is onwards and upwards. And so that was the last part of this part of the reading. Before I move into the next section, I will open the floor again. In this transmission of Through the Fog, we actually have the ability to trust and thrive. The lyrics here: stop looking for the answers. So in the present moment, the answers find us, and we are encouraged to come alive and thrive, to stand in our light and our glory with grace and majesty. That this is no time to play small. And that came through very loud, that this was a very important line in the reading, that there is no time right now to play small, that we are here to be a spiritual influencer. And we talked last week that this is not about influencing, via Instagram or via the internet. This is about having such a strong frequency and vibration that we are influencing the environment, those around us. We are influencing the world wherever we go, because we are allowing the divine to move through us, and we are becoming this conduit of grace. And Spirit said this allows us to have bold, creative, divinely inspired leadership. So once again, we are being brought back to these new beginnings and how they are centered around this bold, creative, divinely inspired leadership. This is energy which is bringing graceful and powerful medicine into our lives, as well as protection during these challenging times. The frequencies of strength, dignity, poise, and the energies of the stag. So knowing that even when we are hunted, we can hold our head up high. These are the frequencies of fertility, sexuality, and Spirit says opportunities to deepen and explore our sexual sides, with our spiritual integrity supporting us on the journey. So many generations have been kind of programmed out of their natural sexuality. And so we are going to be given divine opportunities to deepen and explore our sexual sides, but with this spiritual integrity, which is supporting us in the journey. We have the opportunity right now to thrive, and we're encouraged: trust in all that you have to offer, all of your gifts, your strengths, and power. Make the most of them. You were born to lead, and this can only become reality when you are willing to put yourself in that position. The stag energy allows us to feel safe because their antlers represent keeping away anything which could interfere with our divine intelligence and divine presence. And their strength inspires us to be agile in our thinking and movements, both internal and external. So this is a pride in all that we've accomplished, but specifically in co-creation with Spirit. So this is not pride from the egoic level of, what our personality or linear self has accomplished, but this is pride in our ability to surrender to that which is greater than ourselves, to allow the divine to instruct us and move through us. And Spirit says ultimately to give us the power to thrive. Now, this last energy of the evening, it really goes with this ability to trust and thrive. And it's this connection that we are beginning to have with the energy of the beloved, and specifically our ability to recognize Spirit in another. In fact, to move toward Spirit through our relationship with another. And it is when the divine appears to us in the form of our child, our partner, a loved one, or a friend. It's when we experience what we might call the quality of being in love. And this is not necessarily a romantic love. It can be that, but it is so much more than that as well. And as we grow in Spirit, we will begin to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality self with their divine nature. And so Spirit says, accept this invitation to learn through the path of love and expand your being through union with another. Once again, this goes back to the stag energy of newfound fertility and sexuality, these opportunities to deepen and explore while having a spiritual support support and integrity through the journey. And when we recognize the beloved in another, we are also calling forth their highest and purest nature. So this in itself is an alchemical process. And the lyrics to end this part of the reading were, "You are not easily replaced. Welcome back." And it felt like a message from spirit to say, we've all kind of strayed off of our path in, this timeline and other timelines, but the soul cannot be replaced, no matter how many layers or dimensions or constructs or systems we want to put over ourselves to, not see the core of who we truly are. That is still always there underneath it all. And so we're encouraged to remember that we are not easily replaced. We are special to Source God. We are, known by every hair on our head. And so we are encouraged to return to that inner realm of the soul, because we will always, always, always be welcomed back. So before we end for the evening, just to review what Spirit brought through, how do we get through the fog? How do we move through this uncharted, unknown place that the soul has never even experienced before? The soul is having to feel its way through the dark, through this time of change and fortune, which, is either good fortune if we're tuned into ourselves, or it could be misfortune if we are not paying attention, if we are allowing the little fool to steer the ship. So once again, bringing that back to living in the moment. And how can we get closest to ourselves? Well, often we find ourselves the fastest in nature, because we are bringing ourselves right back to the source. We are removing the walls that we have built around ourselves, between ourselves and God. So living in the moment, experiencing life through the lens of the child, asking to know what that feels like if we have forgotten how to do so, and to know that new beginnings are coming our way. And these are beginnings that are supported for and by the soul. So these are going to be long lasting, stable unions and foundations that leave a legacy. And during this process, once again, encouraging to deal with the resurfacing of these feelings and emotions by being with them, by embracing them. And we talked about the 90-second rule, carving out 90 seconds to really feel the heaviness of that emotion, or to really feel the pain or the grief or the anger, to really be with it fully. Of course, not harming ourselves or another in the process. We are allowing that energy to move through us. And often it takes even less than 90 seconds for it to do so, once we give it the space to fully move, when we remember that emotion is energy in motion. And so this is all about trusting in the divine, really trusting in ourselves and our co-creation with a spirit is going to help us move through this fog, not only with navigation, but joyfully and peacefully and with prosperity, knowing that we can trust and thrive, and that the beloved is meeting us along the way. We are not having to walk this path alone. So through the fog, everything will be revealed. The bridge will be able to be crossed, and the light of the new dawn will be able to be seen. We are moving through this initial potential, the start of this new life, this creative chaos, as Spirit calls it. But we are doing so with the joy of the child, with the divine wisdom of the spiritual adult who's living in integrity, and knowing that we have all the tools and all of the resources from Spirit in the spiritual realm. All we have to do is simply ask, and we shall receive. So thank you everyone on the call for being here. Those of you on the call, we will meet in the after party. And those of you listening in the replay, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing everyone again next Monday. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all so much.